Another fellow Republican and an influential one, in fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is now preparing to impeach US President Joe Biden for systematically destroying the country. This is, of course, what Marjorie Taylor Greene has to say. The firebrand congresswoman said Biden should be removed from office because he has failed to secure the border and has deliberately compromised the national security by refusing to enforce immigration laws and secure the border. Now, Greene berated Biden for permitting, quote-unquote, approximately 6 million illegals from over 170 countries to invade our country. This is what Greene has to say. And she accuses the president of depriving customs and border protection of the resources needed to secure the border. Greene has announced her intention to introduce impeachment articles against Biden over the border crisis at a press conference capping off impeachment week that's just taken place a while ago. She has also moved to impeach Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Now, the Congresswoman has not released the text of her impeachment articles against Biden yet. But what will this mean? We'll have a quick look, but let's also delve deeper into both these political developments. And for that, let me introduce my guest today. I'm joined in by Crystal Knight, who's a Democrat strategist, joining me live from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Crystal, for joining in. Let's talk about DeSantis first. At a time his popularity is diminishing, what do you make of the timing of DeSantis's expected announcement?
Well, I think what Governor Ron DeSantis is doing, he is signaling not only to the voters across the state of Florida, where he's introduced many restrictive bills and really going actually more extreme than Trump, becoming very anti-Semitic, anti-immigrant, anti-anything that is cultural in his state. And he's really trying to take that message across the United States, making sure that voters understand that he is on par with the bad rhetoric and antics of a Donald Trump, but also willing to go a step further and challenge education across this country, challenging corporations across this country. And so we expected Governor DeSantis to announce. We did not know when, but I don't think that the timing is any surprise to anyone because it was coming already.
That's true. But, here's where the timing matters. In 6 short months, all the way from November, when he had a landslide re-election, turning the swing state of Florida deep red, all the way to May now, Mr. DeSantis' 2024 run has faltered even before it has begun, which is something which is very apparent in the polls, especially when compared to the popularity of Donald Trump. What are the reasons behind the slump in his popularity?
Well, I think the reasons behind the slump in his popularity is that he's untested. Now, we can say he's been leading the state of Florida, he's been passing legislation or, making bold moves, but really Americans across this country are in disagreement with many of the policies that he's putting forth in his own state. And so when I think about his popularity in Florida versus his popularity across the United States, those are two very different things. People can be wildly popular in their respective state as if they lead as a governor or any kind of other statewide elected official. But when you get out into the states and people, 80% of Americans believe that women should have a right to choose when it comes to abortion care. And this candidate is saying that they don't want women to have a right to choose. That will absolutely alter the way people think about him as a particular candidate. When many of the folks in this country believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you have a governor like Ron DeSantis creating and signing into law anti DEI and anti-CRT education legislation, right, that will absolutely affect his ability to go far in this primary. I think the third thing is he recently also signed into law an anti-immigrant bill that would penalize businesses and essentially have people being able to be stopped on the street, questioned about their legitimacy around being in this country. Again, there's an argument that probably nearly a quarter of our country is made up of immigrants, if not more. And so when you have these types of things that people are seeing happen in his home state, it is not surprising that his poll numbers are dropping because people absolutely know that if he is elected or he becomes the nominee, he will try and transform the country with those bad policies that he's instituted in Florida.
Crystal, do you think there is deliberate posturing on Ron DeSantis' part? Because everybody's been talking about how even an ultra-conservative like Donald Trump was critical of how he has, in fact, banned abortion. He said that it was too harsh, the policies that he signed on that 6-week ban. Political experts are saying that there's deliberate posturing. He wants to project himself as the far right of even someone like Donald Trump on policies like guns or even immigration and abortion, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand, Governor DeSantis' position. Many women don't know that they're pregnant until the 6-week mark. And so to ban abortion at 6 weeks is highly restrictive. I think the other thing is, there are cases of rape and incest. Again, those things have not been accounted for in his bill. Also, gun control is something that we're seeing over and over again across this country, really continue to just kill innocent Americans. And it's because Republicans at the congressional level, Republicans at the Senate level refuse to bring forth and put forth sensible gun legislation. We also see in many states that there are relaxed laws that allow people to go out and just shoot at will without really any deep consequences. And so when we look at what's happening across the landscape of this country, people are tired of talking about another mass shooting. And plenty of them have already happened in the state of Florida. So again, when we see a candidate like Ron DeSantis, who's not tough on gun crime, who wants to make sure women don't have access to abortions when they probably don't even know that they're pregnant beyond 6 weeks, those are things that do not help his cause.
All right, let's also now talk about what Marjorie Taylor Greene is up to. House Republicans will be now free to sign on to Taylor Greene's impeachment resolution as co-sponsors. Are you expecting strong support from GOP members?
No, I'm not. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anomaly. She is an outcast. And while she may have support from, Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the House, she does not enjoy the support that she believes that she has amongst the GOP members at large. I think, she is wasting her time and taxpayer dollars, and the folks that she represents in her home state of Georgia, they sent her to Congress to make their lives better, create policy and legislation that would be for the betterment not only of her constituents, but also America. And instead, she's focused on trying to identify people that she believes are aligned with President Biden and attempting to embarrass them or put forth, articles of impeachment, around the FBI, and even trying to target the DC Attorney General for allegedly not being tough on crime. That's not why voters sent Marjorie Taylor Greene to Congress. They sent her there to create policy that would better their lives. And what she's doing is wasting time and wasting her vote and her seat.
Crystal, it's interesting you mentioned FBI, because I was just about to come to what is going to happen with the FBI director. It seems that she's also going to call for his impeachment. Having said that, what is the Republican issue with the FBI? Is this now becoming a politically motivated agenda? Because we've already seen the Durham report also, target the FBI. Having said that, there are some anomalies which do, in fact, point towards lapses by the FBI during investigations, as far as the Durham report is concerned, something that the FBI has also admitted to. But having said that, is this now becoming a political witch hunt against the FBI?
Absolutely. I mean, we're living in really deep political, divide in this country. We're living in there's a big political divide here. And so when Republicans took, control after the midterm elections in the House, they began setting up committees. They began figuring out ways that they could go after anyone that is associated or identifies to be associated with this Biden administration. Again, this is a waste of taxpayer dollars. There's nothing there to actually discover or uncover. But really what they're trying to do is just to say that the FBI is being weaponized by the Biden administration to go after political enemies, when ultimately the FBI is a nonpartisan entity, that many presidents have placed people there, and those folks have rolled over from administration to administration. And so again, for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who again is an outcast, who again is an anomaly, she's an outlier, she does not enjoy the support of many of her colleagues. It is a witch hunt. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars, and it's a waste of her time and her vote.
All right, Crystal, I'm running short of time. I think we'll have to leave it at that. Many thanks to you for joining in on CNN News 18 Global.
Thank you.
And for all our viewers, well, that was the Democrat strategist Crystal joining in. Let's also try and get in what a Republican strategist, Corinne Clark, has to say. Let me bring in Corinne on that note. Corinne, let's throw light on the other end of the spectrum as well. How do you view the timing of DeSantis' possible announcement? Will DeSantis shake up a contest that has so far been largely one-sided from the GOP?
I'm not expecting much of a shakeup with DeSantis announcing officially. I think he's been running the shadow campaign for the last 6 months. It's a surprise to absolutely no one that he is running. And I don't expect any big shift in energy. I think that has been expected for so long. So we'll see how it goes for him.
Corinne, even an ultra-conservative Trump has criticized DeSantis' 6-week abortion ban in Florida, calling it too harsh, to which DeSantis has even shot back, saying he was proud to do it. Do you view DeSantis now posturing himself as further right of Donald Trump on issues like abortion?
It's definitely possible that he'll try to thread that line, be the little more right-wing than Trump. I think it's probably a smart strategy for him to stick by the legislation that he has signed. We don't want to see a candidate that is wishy-washy and goes back and forth on the things that they literally just did. So it's probably a good strategy for him to stick by that legislation. But I actually think the issue of abortion is going to be a little bit less of an issue in the 2024 presidential race, because this is the first presidential race that we have had since Roe v. Wade was overturned. And that officially made abortion no longer an issue of federal regulation. It is an issue for the states now. So I think that our presidential candidates are going to have to be a little less concerned than they used to be about that particular issue.
Corinne, what in your view is needed for DeSantis to match up to Donald Trump's political outreach with both anti-Trump Republicans and pro-Trump supporters?
I think that's the biggest challenge that DeSantis has right now. And I would say, I don't think I see him succeeding in this, because you have to make a choice right now. Do you capitalize on the Trump base? Do you run with the Trump base, or you run from it? DeSantis, I think, noticed that he is not going to pick up that Trump base, and he ran from it. You see him standing with a lot of the establishment consultants, establishment politicians that were always anti-Trump. I think that turns off a huge base of Republican voters who not only love Trump, so that he already had an uphill climb there, but absolutely hate the establishment. So aligning himself with that is a terrible move. I think it's going to be hard for him to shift away from that in these next few months, but maybe it's possible. Maybe he does it. But his biggest uphill challenge is that Trump has the biggest base of any Republican candidate that we have ever seen. And he has to somehow take away that base while he's working with all of these establishment consultants and politicians who hate Trump. And I just think that that's going to be a really hard thing for him to do. And I think Trump's got more support on his side.
Corinne, let's also talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who in an announcement she just made, she's set to file articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden. What are the chances that such a resolution would pass all the way to the Senate and through the Senate?
I'm definitely proud that they are doing this. I think that there is such merit to these impeachment charges, way more than the impeachment charges we saw in the last administration. There is a very good, I haven't read the articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. I assume they are as thorough as the ones that they released against Christopher Wray. The weaponization of our Department of Justice against conservatives, against whistleblowers, against Trump, against parents, that is a huge issue. And I think that those articles of impeachment raise some great points that are impeachable offenses, treasonous offenses, honestly. And I assume that a lot of those same points are brought up in the impeachment articles against Biden. I guess I will have to wait and see on that. But I don't see this moving because unfortunately, Republicans are just not as motivated to play the same political games that Democrats are. I think we could see a Democrat move on impeachment against a Republican president for literally no reason. We watched that happen twice in the Trump administration. But Republicans don't usually like to get dirty like that. They'll probably let this die. I don't see Mitch McConnell picking this up in the Senate. So unfortunately, probably we got a good letter out of it.
Right. Many thanks to you, Corinne. I'm running short of time, so we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you for joining in.